What's up, guys? So this video is going to be on when and how to introduce your girlfriend to your family. I have Coach Brad,
What's up, guys?
and Coach Brad is one of my he's my assistant coach for my immersions, and he's included in a lot. Brad and I, we go way back, and Brad has been already at three of my immersions. Three immersions so far. And at the time of this recording, Brad is currently engaged to his fiance. He's going to get married in 2024. I'm in my relationship with Atiana at this moment, and we are going to be also not getting married anytime soon, but at the time of this recording, but we have plans to get married. She's already met my side of the family. I met her side of the family. So yeah, we're going to be giving advice on this. Shout out to Julius for this question on when and how to introduce your girlfriend to your family. So I like to just kick it off, and I'm going to give Brad the opportunity to speak on this as well. My advice on this: when and how to introduce your girl to your family. So there's really no black and white answer, in my opinion. For example, hey, 6 months in, right? Like, and if you want to come closer, Brad, you can come closer on this too. Yeah, Brad, like only 6 months in, that's when to do it, right? This is not red pill advice where it's like a certain number.
Yeah.
You
never want to have here's the thing about dating and love and relationships is there is no such thing, just like Coach Cam said, as a black and white rule, right?
Right.
Everything is always going to be context dependent. Okay.
Yes.
So part of that context is going to be knowing your own family, right?
Yes.
Some people will introduce dates to their families when they're not even serious after a couple of weeks, right? Me personally, like that's a little too soon, right? Some people are like, oh, I'm not going to introduce this person unless I'm marrying them. And to me, that's a little too much, right? So for me personally, right, knowing my family, any girl that is a part of my life and is important to me at the time, I'm willing to introduce them to my family.
Yeah.
That's cool with me. Whether or not I think this is going towards marriage or anything super serious, if they're an important part of my life, that's okay. Right. So in my personal experience in the past, like, well, let me use first of all my example with my fiance. I actually introduced her to my family a little earlier than I was planning on. And it was just because my family was having an event. And I'd been dating her for only about a month and a half, maybe.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So it was a little early.
Wow.
But the event was like based around, I'll give you the guys this specific. My dad rented out a movie theater for a movie that was coming out that he was excited for, and I wanted to go. And I was like, well, I'm dating this girl. I wanted to bring her. So it was a very kind of low stress thing because I introduced her to my parents just briefly, and then we sat in a dark movie theater and watched a movie. So there wasn't any kind of intensity over it. It wasn't any kind of like, oh, this is Brad's girlfriend. We weren't even like officially boyfriend girlfriend at that time. She was a girl that I was dating, but I did know that this is a girl I could see myself with seriously.
Yes.
If she was just some girl I was hooking up with, I probably wouldn't have brought her. But at the time,
I don't think you would have.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, and this is all going back to what I said about context. If the context was she's just a girl I was hooking up with, then no. If the context was my family expects something serious, maybe not, right? But I know that my family's very chill. My parents are very nice and warm people. So I can bring someone around and not feel super pressured about it, right? But that's kind of my basic idea is like, if she's important to me, then I'm willing to introduce her to my family because, my family is important to me and I spend a lot of time around my family. Now, if my family is someone who lived across the country and I was going to have to fly her out to meet my family, then yes, I'm going to wait for something till it's more serious before I do something like that. But for like, oh, hey, we're going to go see a movie, oh, you can bring a date. In that situation, it's no big deal. But after that, right, because that was it. It was an introduction, and then we watched a movie, and then we kind of left. But the actual, like, real, like, hey, guys, let's go out to dinner. I want you guys to meet this girl. That didn't occur for, I would say on average, about like 2 to 3 months, I think is good because that gives you time to understand how you feel about this girl, right? Hey, you know what? I really like this girl. I think she's going to be a girlfriend, someone I'm going to be spending a lot of time with. Then after about 2 to 3 months, I would say that's an appropriate time, and always, just like with dating, right? Your first date isn't going to be something super serious, right? So the same thing with introducing her to your family. for me first, it was something not super serious. Oh, we went to go see a movie. Then the second date with my parents, right, was like, oh, we'll go out to dinner and we'll have nice conversation, but it's nothing crazy. I'm not inviting her to a weekend trip with my family or something like that. So treat it almost just like you would treat a dating relationship, is you want to slowly escalate, right? Each time is a little more serious. And the more times your family sees you with the girl, the more they're going to understand, oh, like this girl is serious. But you also have to understand your family, right? If your family is expecting, oh, he's introducing to a girl, she better be wife material, maybe wait a little longer, maybe 3 to 6 months is a better time frame, right? So understand your family, understand the relationship that you have with the girl that you're dating, and take all these things into consideration. But no hard and fast rule. I'd say for me personally, about 3 months is about right for me personally, right? But that's because of my family. That's because how I know the way that I am with girls in a relationship. That 3 month mark is about right for me personally. What do you think?
Before I give my opinion on this, I really like everything you share, Brad. I was wondering, like, do you believe that men need to have, it's kind of taking this conversation in a different direction, but I think it's important to ask this. Do you think that men need to have a healthy relationship with their parents before they, like, a healthy enough where they're communicating with their parents before they introduce a woman in their family?
Ideally, yes.
Okay.
Obviously, as a man, you always want to have, your life in order.
Right.
That's to me, like, that's part of masculinity. Masculinity is order, right? Femininity is a little more chaotic, right? We need to have our lives in order.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't control other people. So if your family is chaos, that's not something you can control, right? You can only control what you do. But you should be putting in effort to have some kind of healthy relationship with your family. And a lot of advice that I'm sharing is kind of assuming you do have at least a somewhat healthy relationship with your family. If your family's absolutely crazy, you might want to wait a little longer before you introduce your girl into that chaos. But if that is the situation, then you need to take stock of that and take responsibility in the sense that, like, what can you do in a situation like that? How can you make it a situation where it's going to be healthy, it's going to be good, it's not going to be weird or crazy or chaotic? And that's what I mean about just context. Context is everything. Know your family, know yourself, know your girl. And I think if you have all those three things in order, exactly, how your family's going to react, how your girl's going to react, how you are going to behave in a situation like that. Because if you're the kind of person who, when you get around your family, you become a different person, that's something you need to be aware of. And it's something you need to work on, right? You need to be centered within yourself at all times. And that includes with your family, with your girl, with your friends, with your business, whatever it is. Always focus on making sure that you are in order before introducing other people to certain things. Because if you're not in order, everything's going to be chaos no matter what.
Yeah.
That's just the situation.
Everything, dude.
Right?
Everything.
So get yourself in order first. Know yourself. And if hey, you know what? I'm not in order, then maybe it's not the best time to introduce your family. But maybe also, let me give you an example, right? Like my cousins, I have a few cousins that are a bit chaotic, right? But they'll bring a girl over after dating her for a week.
Really?
And it's like,
oh, man.
but it becomes a running joke sometimes in my family. It's like, oh yeah, this cousin brought over another girl, right?
Yeah.
So, but and then it becomes like, okay, it becomes assumed almost like, oh, my cousin brought a girl, don't take it seriously, right? But if I bring a girl, then my family is going to take it seriously because they know me. They know that I don't just bring around any random hoe. Yeah. I'm only going to bring a girl that well, first of all, that I'm proud of, right? Yeah. I'm proud to introduce this girl to my family.
Yes.
So maybe even ask yourself this: do you want to introduce this girl to your family? Because if you do, that's probably a pretty good sign. That honestly might be the best sign.
Yeah. And let's just say, Brad, that like if they do want to introduce the girl to the family, I would be wondering why.
Yeah.
Because if it's a why, if their why is because I want to make sure my parents approve her, I would say, okay, while it's not a bad necessarily to seek approval in whether this woman is compatible for you, if that is the ultimate determining factor, whether you should dump her or not, that's going to be a problem for me, right?
Yeah.
Because it should be like the man's choice at the end of the day if he wants to dump her, right?
Yes.
Now, it's not wrong for mom and dad to be like, or if it's just, if you just only have your mom or your dad in your life, there's nothing wrong for them to be like, I have some concerns about this woman. She doesn't seem like she's really into you. For example, she's on her phone a lot and she's not paying attention to you when you're talking, right?
Yeah.
So it's like us as like dating coaches, for example, like giving advice to our student, like on one of my immersions, where they're like, man, like I'm a little concerned about this girl, like concerned for you. This girl doesn't seem like she really likes you.
Yeah.
Right. So if the why is like, yeah, it's an issue that for these reasons, and yeah, us as coaches, we even advise like, don't even be with this girl, right? For these serious legitimate reasons. For me, I would say as well, like even in my family, like, because they know me as like the guy who has pictures with a bunch of girls, right? They're like, oh my God, you're taking a girl actually seriously. I'm like, guys, I've been telling you this whole time. I actually want to be in a relationship. I want to have a marriage, and I commend you on everything you've done so far with your fiance. It's beautiful, man. And I'm gonna be his best man for the wedding as well. So congratulations and thank you. It's an honor to be in that position for you. The joke was, right, like when I brought Atiana to my family, the joke was like, not on her, it was on me, whether like, okay, I'm like, are you really settling? I'm like, first of all, I'm not settling. I'm in a new part of my life where I saw a woman that I want to take very seriously, and I want to be in a healthy relationship with her, and I want to have a healthy marriage with her. For me, like Coach Brad was saying, there's really no like hard, steadfast rule that it has to be like 3 months, 2 months, whatever. But let's talk about my sequence, right? I met Atiana in July at the Arizona immersion, and then it was at the August we had our first date. September we made it official that we're going to be together, and then funny enough, Coach Brad, that like after Nocturnal, right?
Yeah.
See, okay, this is important. So this sequence is extremely important. Atiana had not met Coach Brad, and she had not met also Coach Brad's fiance. One thing that's very important for me is like I want to see how she does with Coach Brad and his fiance. And the moment like they met, I knew Coach Brad was going to be non-judgmental. He's going to be very open, very exciting, very warm, and he was also very kind enough to have us sleep over at his place before we went to Nocturnal Wonderland, which is a rave, right? And because Coach Brad, and then also what I did too is I would talk to Brad on the phone. Right? Hey, Brad, just want to let you know, man, like, it's getting close to the rave. Do you have all these things set up? Because it's a camping rave. And when Brad would talk to me, Atiana would hear him on the phone, right? Through my car's Bluetooth. And also, I would position Atiana to talk to you too. You noticed that, obviously, right? Yeah. So I'll position her to talk. And then if, let's say, Atiana's like, oh my God, like Brad seems weird, which she didn't think that. It was like, oh my God, Brad is like weird. I don't really like this. I'm like, that's a red flag for me. Because Brad, like, you have to be the weirdest person in the world to not like Brad, in my opinion, right? Obviously.
Well, and so you're touching on something very, very important, right? That totally applies to introducing a girl to your family. Like, you need to also know ahead of time whose opinion you respect about your relationship.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
For me personally, I was very fortunate to grow up in a family where my parents were together my whole entire life.
Yeah.
They have a strong marriage. They have a strong relationship. So if my parents give me advice about a girl, I am going to take it seriously, right?
Yeah.
But I have other family members who have just nothing but just a trail of dumpster fire relationships, but nonetheless, they feel very bold in sharing their opinions on my relationships. And guess what? Like, I don't care, right? Cam has seen the relationship that I have with my fiancés, and he respects it. So of course he's going to respect my opinion about, how his relationship looks with his girl, and know which members of your family, because your family is going to have opinions. That's what families do, right? That's what they're good for. Your family is going to have opinions. So you need to know ahead of time, like, hey, whose opinion from my family do I care about and do I take seriously? And you should only take seriously the opinions of someone who has what you already want. Okay?
Game.
Do not ever take opinions from someone who has nothing but like failures in their wake, right? So if someone see, hey, this person has a good relationship and I would like a relationship like that someday, I'm going to take their opinion seriously. This person has nothing but bullshit, like in their past, just because they're so strong, like they could be very strong in their opinions, but I don't give a shit. Like you don't have what I want. So your opinions mean nothing to me,
And
right?
here's the thing too, Brad, like there was a moment of our lives where both of us were single,
Yeah.
right? And then someone could be like, well, I mean, you're single. You don't have any say in what's a healthy relationship, but our mindset's what's the most important, right?
Yeah.
So someone can have a track record, Brad,
Yeah.
of being in a multiple relationship, but it's like the mindset of the person, right?
Yeah.
So we have track records of being in previous relationships, right? You
Mhm.
know about like my exes from the past. I know about history of your exes from the past as well. But it's really like the quality of our minds that I felt secure enough
Yeah.
to hear if you were going to give me feel like, let's just say Atiana was never like this and you never had this conversation,
Right.
but let's just say Atiana was like someone who you was like, oh my God, I don't know if this is right for Cam. Like I would hope and I would want you to say something like, yo, Cam, I don't know, man. This just seems a little like not really right. And that's because we respect each other's opinions so much.
Absolutely.
We respect each other so much, and we are so cohesive and working together that like if I heard something like that, I'm like, what do you mean? Right? I would entertain your opinion on this, as opposed to let's say some random dude who's in a bunch of relationships. They're all toxic, and he's toxic up here.
Mhm.
Then I'll be like, like I don't give a fuck about the internet's opinion, but I do care about his opinion. I care about Coach Brad's opinion a lot.
Yeah, and like so, let me give you a perfect example, right? So I've been camping with Coach Cam here twice, right? The first time we went camping, I met an ex-girlfriend of his, and that was it the first time you met Abby? Was it at camping? Or had you met her before?
I don't know.
Maybe. I mean,
first, like,
first, maybe second, like, it was early. And he said something to me after that camping trip that was really powerful. And I think there's just so much truth in. He said that he saw the way that Abby was behaving around me at the campsite. She was always looking to me, right? She always wanted to be with me, like I was her leader. But his girl at that time was not behaving the same way, right?
Friction.
There was this friction. Like she just kind of wanted to do her own thing, independent boss babe kind of thing.
Ugh.
And he's mentioned that after that camping trip, that was a wake up call for him that relationship wasn't right for him because he wanted a relationship that looked the same way. Yeah. So let's fast forward now to Nocturnal Wonderland, which at the time of this recording was about 3 months ago. Mm. And we're at the campsite, and I don't even think I've actually said this to you, but what did I notice about Atiana at that? Always looking to you. You were just clearly her leader. Yeah. Clearly like the man she was looking to for comfort, for security, for safety. Like she was your girl, Yeah. And, he learned that. The reason that happened for him is because he learned that from me. He saw me do it and he said, you know what? That's what I want. Yeah. And now he has that too because he knew exactly what he wanted. Mm. But if we're listening to people who don't have what we want, then that's all we're going to end up with is more things that we don't want. Yeah, right? It was a breakthrough on that first camping trip with my ex that I saw. Like I thought that the relationship I had was in that direction. I was at a phase in my life, Brad, that I was like still like healed, but not fully healed, right? Yeah. And after I saw that experience, I'm like, shit, like this is not what I want, but I'm gonna still try to make things work, right? The ego can be like, we got to make things work, even if it's damaged, right? I was like, oh man, I invested so much in myself and her. We'll still make it work somehow. And that was not the case. And I broke it off with her. I'm like, this is not healthy, right? And then this is why my girl and your fiance mesh so well, because they're both in the same paradigm of serving for their men, right? Serving you and serving me. And what I realized, like, I study, like Coach Brad and we come from the same timeline of meeting each other. Like we both were Red Pill students and stuff. We had the same Red Pill mentors, and we got out of the whole Red Pill thing because I've shared this so many times on Teachable and on the coaching calls and in the immersions that Brad has been a part of, that the Red Pill is like a cancerous thing, and it has some merit. It becomes very toxic. They're just like, I mean, like with a lot of things in life, they rope you in with some truths and some things that you just never realized before. And you're like, oh, I never realized that is so true. Mm-hmm. But then you start going too far, like, well, then everything they say must be true. And absolutely not. Like they don't, because really what the Red Pill is, it's just the mirror image of feminism for men. Right. Mm-hmm. And it becomes so toxic, and it gets to a point where it's like for me personally, like I'm engaged, I'm looking forward to getting married, to starting a family, to starting a legacy with my life. But I have red pill friends like, oh, you're getting married? What a beta. Like,
Yeah.
No, I'm creating a legacy with a girl that I actually trust this time.
They're gonna take you to the cleaners, Brad.
Yeah. Obviously everything in life is a risk. I don't know how everything in life is going to, end up, but what do I know about this girl? I know that she had a very similar upbringing to me. She values marriage, she values kids, she values family, she values legacy the same way that I do, right? And even so, and again, I don't think I told you this, so Cam's learning things on online right now. Atiana during Nocturnal, talking to Abby, was asking Abby like, hey, what makes you wife material? What is it? Like Atiana wanted to know, hey, how can I be in the same position that you are? Like Atiana wanted to be in a position with Cam that Abby was with me. And that to me is a huge green flag that Atiana cares about that kind of stuff. Wow. And she's seeking that out. And again, it goes right back to what I said. Who's she seeking that advice from? Someone who has what she wants, right? Atiana's not getting advice from her single friends who are like, oh no, you deserve better than that girl. Like, she's like, no, you're engaged. I see the way that Brad looks at you, that Brad wants you as a wife. Like, how can I do that? What are you doing? What can I do to be in that same position?
Love it.
Right.
Love it.
So, it just all goes back to that, be careful whose opinion you're taking. Always make sure it's someone who has what you want, because if they don't have what you want, they can't give you the opinion you need. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And, from that experience, like Brad, like, when we were both in the red pill community, I wanted to be like leader of my relationship.
Yeah.
And when I was with my ex at the time, I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, but then I saw like, this is the reality thing. I was like focusing, what is the internet showing me? But then I saw your relationship, like, that is what I really want. And I've been doing it, and I'm with the wrong woman. And I had to go through these experiences where I'm like, I'm so glad it was you and not some random fucking dude.
Right.
Because I can open up to you, I can be vulnerable with you, and I can share with you in a comfortable space where I know I'm not going to be judged. And I was just like, okay, this is actually what I want. From that experience, it was a wake-up call. And after that, after I broke it off with her, and then I was like single for some time, because I was like, I'm not at a place right now where I haven't found like a girl like that. Then when Atiana came, bro, I just jumped on it. I knew exactly what I wanted, and boom, 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 we're in a healthy relationship. And now, like, we're in this in Brad's house recording this call, talking about when and how to introduce your girl to your family.
Yeah.
So like the sequence happened is like, right. So like, to sum it up on my story, right? It was July we met. August we had our first date and we were intimate. And then in September, I introduced, there was a lot of me talking to Brad, and then Atiana would overhear Brad, and I wanted her to overhear Brad's voice to know that Brad's cool. He's not a threat. He's not weird. He's completely calibrated. He's confident. He's fun. He's outgoing. And then I'll ask Atiana, like, hey, so Brad's off the phone. I'm like, hey, so what do you think about Brad? He seems cool. Right? It's like, oh yeah, he seems like a super outgoing guy. He's upbeat and everything. I'm like, perfect. That means like she's in alignment with my friends, right? Which is preparing her to meet my family, because Brad's an important person in my life. Then Nocturnal Wonderland came, and before Nocturnal Wonderland, like his fiance and Atiana were talking one-on-one. And then I would, let's say, have Atiana for a moment, because like Brad would be with his fiance. I would talk to Atiana, hey, you girls are compatible? She's like, oh yeah, absolutely. I love her. Awesome. Perfect. But his fiance was not compatible with my ex, and that's a whole boss babe energy thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it got to this point.
And that is the thing. Like, look, there is a real issue, right? This is what the red pill gets, right? There is a real issue in modern society with the boss babe women who aren't playing their feminine role in a relationship. In when a girl's not playing her feminine role, like, it really makes a relationship very, very difficult. But then the problem is, they say like, well, all girls are like that. So then you're constantly on the lookout for like the negatives in a girl, right? And of course you should be aware of, any kind of red flags or negatives. But then, when I met and I've dated plenty of girls like that for sure, but I knew like, okay, like, you can't take a girl like this seriously.
Right.
When I met my girl, she's nothing like that, right? She looks to me as her masculine leader. Like, she needs my attention. She's so feminine around me, so girly. And she looks to me for that stability and that support.
Love it.
And I just, And I was reminded, like, oh, that's right. This is what girls are actually kind of normally like biologically, right? This is kind of what they're supposed to be like.
That's all they're supposed to be.
And these girls are out there, and they still seek out masculine men who can lead a relationship, right?
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't have a girl like that. Coach Kim wouldn't have a girl like Atiana if we weren't in that place first, right? So
Facts.
Again, it always comes back to you, right? Are you the man you need to be? Are you the masculine leader of your relationship? Can she trust you? Can she trust you so much that she can just melt into her femininity and allow that to just, you know, come out of her constantly, right? Can she live that way? Because a lot of girls want to do that. A lot of girls want to do that, but don't know how. And you can help them. You can help coach girls into that because maybe they haven't experienced something like that in the past. And then some girls want nothing to do with that, right? And that's the girls that, you know, you kind of want to avoid. But that's not all of them, right? As much as the red pill wants to scream and cry that all girls are like that, they're not. They're just not.
They're not. That was a very humbling experience for me. And I really like that you shared that, Brad. So what ended up happening was Nocturnal Wonderland was a grand slam with Atiana, and she was vibing with Brad, vibing with his fiance. Everything was golden. Now, that was September of 2023. So now we're talking, and then literally the week after, it was the week after. Literally, I just said, I want you to be my girl.
Okay.
I felt so comfortable. Like, we'd be in the tent and we would just be talking about so much like stuff, right? After, let's say, before or after intimacy, we'd be like talking about a lot of stuff. The future, like, what do we see for each other? And dude, like, it was crazy because like there was so much vulnerability that was shared between her and I was like, you know, let's just break the BS. Like, we really like each other, right? She's like, yeah, I really do. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And it took me, bro, to like stand up because she was scared that what if like he rejects me? So I would have to speak up on it first to get her to feel comfortable. Then what happens, the holidays are around the corner, right? But before that, even we went to one more rave in October for my immersion, which Coach Brad was there as well. And after that, I told her beforehand, like, hey, would you be open to meeting my family for Thanksgiving? And she's like, yeah. And even before that, there was this one night that I met her grandma and her two aunties, right? Okay. Now it's the holidays, right? So we're talking about Thanksgiving, which is a big day. My family's a huge Persian family. And I told her, you're not gonna be overwhelmed. You're not scared. She's like, no, I'm a little nervous, but like, I'm very ready to meet your family. I also have my two parents in my life and they're still together. So it was, dude, it was a grand slam, Brad. Like, she met my whole like Persian family and she loved everybody. She was trying to speak Farsi, the language and stuff. She was, you know, she held my okay, this was like crazy about Atiana, which I love and respect so much about her, is that, dude, she was trying to like help my grandma cleaning up. And then there would be moments where relatives, like, I have certain relatives that we tease each other, right? Yeah. When they tease me and they were like trying to put me down in a joking manner, she would stand up for me. Nice. She's like, she'd be like, oh, my man's not like that. Cameron's not like that. And then I'm like, that's a good girl. I'm like, that's a fucking good girl, right? Yeah. I was like, oh my God. So how did I know it was the right time for her to meet me? Well, there's just so much vulnerability that was just shared, and her being compatible with Brad, being compatible with his fiance. It just, to me, there was just so much experience where I'm not like, okay, excuse me, Atiana, we're going to wait till 8 months before. It was just like energetically it felt right. And here's the most important thing. Everything that Brad has shared and what I have shared is not like to fill in a void of like, we're trying to keep them around by introducing our family to them. It's because we felt there was substance between our girls. Yeah. Right. We felt like, I feel with Atiana, I'm like, there's substance, there's vulnerability. We can be authentic, transparent, honest with each other. She can meet my family. And I'm intimately attracted to her. I see a future with her. And it doesn't mean like, I'm like, okay, we're going to get married in 2 years, but I'm like, I can see marriage with Atiana. Yeah. You want to share something on this? Yeah. So, just what I was going to bring up is, take context, right? Like, just like I said at the beginning, Cam lives in Arizona now, and most of his family lives in California. So that's something to take into consideration. I live pretty close to my family. So, typically during football season, my uncle, usually every Sunday, he's barbecuing. All my cousins are over. It's a party. It's very informal. It's not formal Thanksgiving dinner, right? So I could bring Abby to that. Like, obviously I introduced her to my parents, but then my other family, like my cousins and grandparents and stuff like that, the first thing I brought it to was a kind of a more informal event, right? And
we were earlier in a relationship, but that's okay, 'cause I live close to my family. I spend time with them. Like they know what's going on in my life. Whereas if I lived across in a different state and I'm going to bring them for Thanksgiving dinner, right? Then I'd probably want to make sure that it is a little bit more serious, right? Yeah. So again, all back to context.
Very good point.
Like what is the situation? Do you hang out with your family every weekend? And even on a casual thing, you could just bring a date, then yeah, you could probably introduce her a little bit earlier, right? But if you're flying halfway across the country or across the world for a big, important event, yeah, make sure it's a little more serious.
Yes.
Than like, oh, I met her last week on Tinder, you know?
So, and here's the thing too, like we talked a lot about the when, and I believe we covered a lot about the how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So you explained it so well, geographically being located does make a difference. I agree 100% with that. I would just say like for the how, it's like, you know, I told my mom in October when I was having my Columbia immersion, I called my mom up and I said, hey mom, hope you're doing well. I want to know what are the plans for the holidays. So that's how it started, like the how. So I actually want to hear like, well, you said the how based on the movie thing. Did you let your parents know ahead of time?
Yeah. So and
I'll talk about my thing.
Like my parents invited me to this event. We're going to see this movie. I was like, oh, cool. And so here's the thing. Again, I know my family. My parents are just super chill people, right? If my parents are like super judgmental people, then I'd probably be like, okay, I'm going to wait a little bit. But I know that my parents are very warm people, very accepting and, aren't going to make a big deal or anything. So I just, said, hey, I started dating this girl. I kind of like her. It's cool if I bring her. Obviously I know they're going to say yes, but so just being polite and respectful. And they're like, oh yeah, of course. So then I bring it to Abby. It's like, hey, just, this event's going on. And I told Abby, like, first I asked her and she said yes. And then I said, like, are you sure? Like, I know we haven't been dating very long. Obviously you're going to meet my parents. Like, is that okay with you? And she's like, yes, like that's okay with me because, she was into me and she liked me as well. So, obviously make sure your girl's on board too. Here, let me put it like this. Don't postpone introducing her to your family because of some like rule or something.
Yeah.
If you want to introduce your family, if she's ready to meet your family, if you think your family's ready, like going to be nice and everything, then it's okay. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times I like to not put too big a deal on things in life in general. For me, like, it's just kind of a personal life philosophy. I try not to take things too seriously in life. Right. So, hey, I'm going to introduce you. Hopefully it goes well. If it doesn't, that's okay. But
it still holds weight. Like introducing family is a big deal. Like, and I want you guys to make sure you don't take what Coach Brad said out of context.
Well, nothing matters. So let's just fucking do it.
Yeah, like you just met your Tinder date after one date. Like,
right.
Yeah. What Coach Brad is saying is like it is a serious situation, but it's not to the point where it's like everything has to be freaking perfect, right? Like I feel like this is where I can line things up. And I feel like this is your philosophy, right? Hey baby, we're doing a video on when and how to introduce a girl to your family.
Okay.
Do you want to come in and give advice on this? This is a very informal video right now. You want to give advice on this? Me and Coach Brad are on a roll right now. You want to come and give advice? Come here. Yeah, so anyway, so really quickly, there's my baby Altiana right there. So
come on in.
Coach Altiana.
So yeah.
No.
The question is, when is it appropriate to introduce your girl to your family?
And I want to give it really quickly before you say something, baby. Thank you, Brad, for mentioning the question. So really quickly, guys, like if you feel like Brad is saying based on the being lined, not taking it so seriously, but also like knowing that is a serious situation, meaning like if your girl feels I'm ready to meet your family, and if you feel I'm ready to introduce you to my family, then just do it. And let's just say your parents are like, oh, this was too soon. Or let's just say somebody is like, oh my God, wow, you're bringing a girl to your family. Yes, we both feel it's ready. And don't worry about the opinion of other people. Just make sure that if like mom and dad say, oh my God, wow, this is really soon, say, well, is that going to be a problem? And if they say, no, we're just saying it's a little bit soon. But if you feel like you're very serious with this woman and you really appreciate her, just invite her, right? Okay, go ahead, baby. So when and how to introduce the girl to the family? Or let's say,
when. I'll start with when.
Sure.
I think it's based on energy. Like there's not really a time frame. Like, oh, wait 1 year, wait 6 months. I think if you get too stuck on the time frame, then it's never going to be the right time. You know, because you're always going to be waiting for the right time. So it's just about an energetic balance, like, you know, Cam was talking about, my baby was talking about like based on energy, and based on when the time is right. I think you should really just go off like your intuition, things like that. Trust yourself. Don't overthink it too. Like, don't be like so caught up in like, oh, I need to make sure everything's perfect. Da, da, da. Don't overthink it. Just trust your intuition, trust yourself, and it will all work out. How to introduce a girl to your family. Just make sure like she feels included in your family. Like this is new for her. Like she's meeting a whole new set of people that you've known your whole life, and they've known you your whole life. So there's like an interconnection that she's not going to have with them. And that can leave room for her to feel like out of place, like I don't belong here. And then she's gonna, you know, be like, well, I don't know if I'm meant to be with this guy now because I feel like I'm not included in his family. And that's a big part of, you know, relationships and marriage,
right?
If that's your goal. So just ensure that, I'm not saying you have to be like on her every moment, like give her time to talk to different family members, but just like check in on her, like, hey, you doing okay? Like when I met Cam's family, he gave me time like to have time with his mom, with his cousins, with his grandmother, with his aunts, and get to know them. But then he also was checking in on me too. It wasn't just like free for all, go and,
that's
whatever.
Honestly, Atiana, like that's such a great point that you're making.
So
that like I probably wouldn't even thought of until you said something like that. But like Cam is taking his role in the relationship seriously as the leader of his relationship. He's making sure that his girl gets time. Like he's not just like, okay, we're here, right? He's like, no, I want to make sure you get time with my mom. I want to make sure you get time with my grandma. He's actually creating a situation to where she can feel comfortable and his family can feel comfortable and they can get to know each other. So that's actually a really good point.
Right. Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Yeah. Another thing of how is like introduce her, like, you know, don't just like you guys walk in and then like you're just talking to everybody and like you're not introducing her.
You're not acknowledging her.
Right. And it goes back to like making sure she's okay, but also like, you know, this is my girlfriend, blah, 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 blah.
Finding like connections also, for example, let's just say I have a relative in my family that ran track. I know you ran track. Like, oh my God, by the way, uncle, did you know that Atiana ran track in college? And she has like, and baby, you should show the video of you running super fast and getting #1, right? And you'll be like, oh my God. And then boom. And then what I'll do is like, I'll maybe stick around with Atiana for some time with, let's say, that relative. But then I'll just kind of take a step back and just let her. And if I feel like, you know, she's like not looking at me like, what are you doing? Don't leave. Right. If she's not looking like that, then I know like it's okay. Right. Because I don't want to be like literally by Atiana the whole time where I'm like being a freaking vulture. And like, and then that's when it's like going to be like, I'm too clingy with her. Right. I gave her the space by knowing.
But you're never clingy.
Yeah. Your girl should always wish that you were more clingy. Right. Yeah. She should never wish that you were less clingy. Right? Just we can make a whole video on that one.
I know.
This one's about family. Okay.
Right.
Beautiful. So I shared everything I need to share.
Yeah, I think we're good. Too. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else, baby, you want to share?
I think, okay, a quick advice for people that are getting introduced to a family, like if you're getting introduced to your girl's family, just remember like they want to know about you. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I need to make up a quick lie or I need to, you know, make myself seem like someone I'm not. Just be yourself. They want to know who you are, not who you're trying to be or who you're trying to be.
Big facts. Yeah. Big facts. Jinx. All right. Damn. Very good. Very good. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and see you guys on the next video. Peace.
Later.